in 4 South African teens have attempted suicide, and 1 in 3 hospital admissions for suicide involve young adults. According to Professor Schlebusch's research, suicide around the world is on the increase, with hanging accounting for 34% to 43% of suicides, firearms amounting to between 29 and 35%, and the ingestion of poison amounting to 9 to 14%. To discuss the rise of teen suicide, we're joined by clinical social worker Lorraine Mitchell. Lorraine, good morning. It's good to have you on the program. It's never nice talking about an issue like this, but it's so prevalent and it is so vital that we do talk about it. What is our average teen suicide rate here in South Africa? Do you have any idea?
Yeah, in South Africa we probably have about 9.5% of our teens that are committing suicide. They're completing suicides.
Okay.
The statistics in terms of attempting suicide is much higher. It's probably
Really?
about 25%.
25%. All walks of life. I mean,
definitely.
It doesn't matter where you come from. You can have all the money in the world and you
Exactly.
can be living in dire straits. So there's no specific area that it affects.
No, it's across the board. It affects all of our young people. I think it's an epidemic now for our young people.
Yeah. Do we find that most of the youth are suffering from some form of a mental illness or depression?
Well, 1 in 5 of our young people are suffering from either depression or substance abuse or conduct disorder. But then 1 in 10 are probably more serious in terms of the mental illness, where there are suicidal thoughts and ideations and suicide attempts.
Yeah. What if we have to compare our rate to the rest of the world? I mean, are we above average? Is it average? I mean, it's a horrible way of asking it, but do we find that the youth are going through more here in South Africa than elsewhere in the world, or is it very much so the same?
South Africa is 8th highest in terms of suicide rate across the world, but I would say that...
In the youth or just in general?
In general,
okay.
But I think our youth are at risk. I think we put, there's a lot of stresses that affect our youth, and I'm not sure that we are equipping our young people with the coping skills in order to deal with the stresses that they deal with on a day-to-day basis.
How do we recognize it? What do we have to do? Because obviously it's up to loved ones and family, teachers, friends to recognize that, a friend, a son, a daughter, a colleague is not well. How do we recognize the signs?
There are many kind of signs that we need to look out for. A way to remember it is to kind of say, what do I see? So what am I observing? I'm observing withdrawal, change in behavior, impulsive behavior, reckless behavior, the signs of depression like eating or sleeping too much, a loss of interest in hobbies and or people. I might also be giving away my possessions, saying goodbye, those kind of things. Then what am I hearing? What are the words that people are saying? And often it's very subtle. So they might say, oh, well, people would be better off without me, or that I'm a burden on my family, or I just wish I could die.
Yeah.
And then we also want to see, what do we sense? What are the emotions that they're possibly experiencing? And a huge emotion for our young people is shame. And helplessness, hopelessness, that I have no purpose in life, I'm worthless, I'm inadequate. And then also looking at their circumstances. What are they going through? We're entering into a time now where our young people are going to be writing exams. It's a difficult time for them. It's a high stressor. Yeah. So we want to be able to identify and to watch our young people and see when are they at risk, or could they be at risk?
You kind of things you talk about. Some people say regularly, in a fight, to get attention. And it may be sort of they're just looking for attention again, here we go again. How do you differentiate between pure attention seeking and a real desperate cry out for help? Because I think some people, it's difficult to draw that line, or is it?
Well, I think what we have to do is we have to take suicide seriously.
Okay.
So even if someone is in jest, kind of throwing out a line saying, oh, well, I wish I was dead, or just watch, you're going to be sorry.
Yeah.
That
take it seriously.
We have to take it seriously. And I often hear, I work as a young adult program manager in a Kiso psychiatric clinic. So I get to work with a lot of parents whose young people, their children have attempted suicide. And they often say, oh, I thought it was a cry for help. I thought it was attention seeking. I thought it was manipulation. And for me, what I would stress is that we have to take, it's life or death we're working with here. So you have to take suicide, any indication of suicide, seriously.
Yeah. Age, when do we start being vigilant with age?
Well, you know, it used to be kind of 15 to 17 to 19, but I think that our younger people are also, I mean, the 10 to 14 stats in terms of suicide has doubled in the last 15 years.
Wow.
So I think we have to be hyper vigilant no matter what the age of our young children are.
Yeah, and there is treatment. I mean, there is treatment available. If you can recognize it, what do we do? I mean, what's the immediate, if somebody's watching now and they're saying, you know, everything you've said is sounding like my child, what do I do to help?
Well, the first thing they want to do is they want to be able to check it out with their child first and to show them, I'm not afraid to go into the space with you and to talk about it. So whatever the identifying signs and symptoms you identifying, then give it back to the child and say, you know what, I can hear that you are disappointed and that you are overly critical of yourself, that you're sleeping too much, you're eating too much, and these are the signs that I'm noticing. And then I'm going to ask you, are you considering suicide?
Yeah.
And then when I'm kind of assess the risk, then I'm going to make sure that I can get that child's treatment with a psychologist, a clinical social worker, any of the KISO clinics, you know, get them help, get them assessed by a psychiatrist or a doctor to see if there is depression. Depression is always underlying suicidal thoughts, or most of the time. So then they can get treatment. Depression is easily treatable with medication and with psychotherapy.
Lorraine, Mitchell, thank you for talking to us. And yeah, indeed, if we can save a life through this, I hope we have. Suicide, it's a horrible thing to have to resort to, and certainly as a family to deal with after losing somebody to suicide. I couldn't think of anything worse. Thank you very much for joining us here on the program.
Pleasure.
All right, so I'm not going to leave you on such a low note. We're going to try and lift you